Welcome to Unplugged Headlines. You know, we love to dig into those trends, the ones that make you think, and hopefully learn something new. And today we're tackling a really interesting one, what the global success of fast payment systems can teach us about, you guessed it, the potential for widespread CBDC adoption.
Yeah, it's a fascinating comparison, especially right now, when we're seeing both systems kind of evolving side by side.
Right. It's like we're at this crossroads in finance with these two innovations, both kind of aiming for a more digital future, but taking such different paths.
Absolutely.
So let's start with what's working so well for these FPS systems. I mean, they've really taken off in some parts of the world.
Oh, for sure. Like, take Brazil's PIC system, for example. Over 90% of adults in Brazil use it, and they're processing something like over 13 billion transactions every month.
Wow, 13 billion.
Yeah, it's crazy. And it's not just Brazil either. India's UPI connects over 600 banks, and Thailand's prompt pay reaches 85% of their population.
That's incredible.
These systems are built on existing banking infrastructure, which makes them super efficient for real-time money transfers between people.
So it sounds like they really nailed that user experience. Is that the only reason for their success, or is there more to it?
Well, convenience is obviously a huge factor, but there's also this element of trust and confidence that these systems have built up. They've got strong stakeholder engagement, seamless integration with those existing banks we talked about, and, clear benefits for everyone involved, consumers and businesses alike.
That makes sense. You need everyone on board to make something this big work.
Yeah.
It's like building a house. You need the right materials, a solid foundation, and a really clear blueprint to make sure everything comes together.
Exactly. And speaking of foundations, when we look at CBDCs, we see a slightly different set of goals and even challenges.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit and talk about those CBDCs. They haven't quite taken off in the same way.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
Well, unlike FPS systems, which are mostly focused on just making payments faster and more efficient, CBDCs have these bigger goals, Like, they have the potential to really enhance a country's monetary sovereignty, which is basically their control over their own currency, and to provide a digital alternative to physical cash, which is a pretty big deal in our increasingly digital world.
So they're tackling a much broader set of objectives than just speeding up transactions.
Exactly. And those broader objectives sometimes lead to different approaches when it comes to things like risk management, settlement processes, and even overall policy implementation.
And those differences can definitely impact how quickly they are adopted.
For sure. It's not just about the tech itself. It's about navigating the complexities of integrating a whole new form of currency into the existing system.
Right, like fitting a brand new piece into an already complex puzzle.
Exactly. And that's where those FPS success stories can offer some really valuable lessons for CBDC implementation.
Interesting. So what can we learn from the FPS playbook that could help with CBDC rollout?
One of the biggest takeaways is the importance of comprehensive stakeholder integration. Just like with those successful FPS systems, getting everyone on board, banks, payment providers, businesses, and users, is absolutely crucial for building a system that's both robust and trusted.
So it's not enough to just have a cool new technology. You need to get everyone to buy into the idea and see the value in it.
100%. You need that collective buy-in to create a system that truly works for the entire financial ecosystem.
Yeah.
And that brings us to another key lesson: robust risk management.
Right. With any financial system, especially one dealing with digital currency security, has to be top of mind.
Absolutely. But robust risk management goes beyond just cybersecurity.
Okay.
It includes things like operational resilience, financial stability, and ensuring the overall integrity of the system.
Yeah.
You need to address those risks head on to build that trust and confidence we were talking about.
It's like making sure that house you're building can withstand a storm, not just making sure the door's locked.
Exactly. It's about anticipating problems and thinking long term. And speaking of the big picture, let's not forget the importance of clear regulatory frameworks.
Oh, right. That's essential for any new financial technology, but especially one that could potentially disrupt the whole system.
Exactly. Clear guidelines from the get-go. When it comes to privacy compliance system, oversight, all that stuff will provide certainty for everyone involved and help ensure the long-term sustainability of the system.
So we've got stakeholder buy-in, robust risk management, clear regulations. It sounds like we're starting to build a pretty solid foundation for successful CBDC implementation. What else can we learn from those FPS success stories?
Well, one thing that stands out is the importance of flexibility.
Flexibility. Tell me more about that. What do you mean by flexibility in this context?
When you look at those successful FPS implementations, both centralized and distributed architectures have proven to be effective. It's not about forcing a specific technology, but about choosing the approach that best aligns with the policy objectives and the unique needs of each country.
So being adaptable, tailoring the system to fit the specific context and allowing it to evolve as technology changes.
Precisely. A great example of this is the European Central Bank's investigation into a digital euro. They're focusing on functionality first, things like offline capabilities and programmable features, rather than locking themselves into a specific technical solution right from the start.
Smart move.
Oh,
It keeps their options open and allows them to adapt as the technology develops.
exactly. And it highlights the importance of prioritizing what the system needs to do over getting caught up in a particular tech solution.
So we've got stakeholder buy-in, robust risk management, clear regulations, and system flexibility. It's
Yeah.
like we're creating this checklist for CBDC success.
We are, and that brings us to another really exciting aspect of this whole discussion, the power of interconnectivity.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about interconnectivity and how it relates to CBDCs.
Well, remember those crazy adoption rates we talked about with FPS systems like Brazil's Pix? Now imagine that kind of impact, but on a global scale.
A world where everyone is connected through these fast, efficient payment systems. Sounds amazing, but is it even possible?
It's closer than you might think. There are already some great examples of this happening. In 2021, Singapore's Pay Now and Thailand's Prompt Pay linked up, allowing people to send real-time, low-cost mobile payments across borders just using a phone number.
No more waiting days for international transfers or dealing with those ridiculous fees.
Exactly. And this is just the beginning. This initiative is part of a much larger effort within the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, or ASEAN, to create a unified real-time payment infrastructure for the entire region.
Wow, so they're aiming to connect all the domestic fast payment systems to create one big seamless financial network across all those ASEAN countries.
That's the idea. It's about making payments faster, cheaper, and more accessible, ultimately benefiting individuals, businesses, and entire economies across the region.
That's a game changer. And it doesn't stop there, right? You mentioned something about a global initiative as well.
Absolutely. This push for interconnectivity isn't limited to just one region. The Bank for International Settlements Innovation Hub is leading something called Project Nexus, which aims to revolutionize cross-border payments on a global scale.
Wow, so they're trying to do for the whole world what ASEAN's doing for Southeast Asia.
Exactly. Project Nexus aims to interlink those domestic fast payment systems across multiple countries, creating a truly global network for instant and low-cost cross-border payments.
It's a bold vision, but the potential benefits are enormous. It's like taking those incredible benefits of FPS and scaling them up to a global level. It really paints an exciting picture of the future of finance.
It does. But with all this talk about seamless transactions and global connectivity, we can't ignore the elephant in the room, privacy.
Right. Privacy is a huge concern when it comes to digital currencies, whether we're talking about FPS or CBDCs.
Absolutely.
How do we balance the need for transaction privacy with the need for regulatory compliance and preventing things like financial crime?
It's a tough one, and there are no easy answers. One idea that's being explored is tiered privacy levels. This would allow smaller transactions to remain anonymous, while larger ones would be fully transparent and compliant.
Interesting approach, but I can see how that could be pretty tricky to implement and even create new problems.
It definitely comes with its own set of challenges. And that's why this is such a crucial conversation to have. We need to carefully consider all the angles, weigh the benefits against the risks, and find solutions that strike the right balance.
This has been an incredibly insightful conversation. We've covered so much ground, from those FPS success stories to the challenges and opportunities of CBDCs, and even touched on the idea of a globally interconnected financial system.
It has. And in the next part of our deep dive, we'll explore the future of these technologies and what they might mean for our economies, our societies, and even how we perceive the very nature of money.
I can't wait. Stay tuned, everyone. Welcome back to Unplugged Headlines. Before we jump back in, let's do a quick recap, just to refresh our memories about those fast payment systems and how they can inform the implementation of central bank digital currencies.
Right. We took a good look at those impressive adoption rates of systems like Brazil's Pix, India's UPI, Thailand's prompt pay and all that, and explored how, their core features, things like stakeholder integration, robust risk management, and clear regulatory frameworks offer, valuable lessons for the successful rollout of CBDCs.
Exactly. We even got into that fascinating possibility of these systems, connecting with each other to create this truly global financial ecosystem.
Absolutely. And we can't forget about that elephant in the room, the privacy concerns surrounding CBDCs.
Right. Finding that balance between, transaction privacy and regulatory compliance is a big challenge, a crucial one that we need to address.
For sure. But I think it's important to remember that CBDCs and FPS, they're not necessarily, competing forces. They can actually work together, complement each other to create a more well-rounded financial system.
Complementary. That's interesting.
Mm.
A lot of people see them as rivals,
Yeah.
vying for dominance in the digital currency space. Tell me more about what you mean by complementary.
Okay, so think of it this way. CBDCs offer some unique advantages that set them apart from FPS. They provide programmability, which opens up a whole world of possibilities. You can automate payments, create smart contracts, even distribute targeted financial aid, things you can't really do with traditional payment systems. And of course, they're backed by the central bank, which provides a level of trust and stability that's essential for national economies.
But FPS systems are already really efficient when it comes to those real-time global transactions we were talking about.
That's true. That's where this idea of complementarity comes in. Each system brings its own strengths to the table. FPS excels at facilitating those quick cross-border payments, while CBDCs offer, that level of control, security, and programmability that can really revolutionize how we interact with money and manage our economies.
So it's not a zero-sum game where one system wins and the other one loses. It's about leveraging the strengths of each to create a more inclusive, efficient, and robust financial system overall.
Exactly. Imagine a future where money flows seamlessly across borders, transactions are instant, and financial systems are accessible to everyone. That's the promise these technologies hold.
It sounds almost utopian, but is it really that simple? I mean, aren't there potential downsides and challenges we need to think about?
Of course. It's
No.
never that simple. We need to look beyond the shiny, exciting parts and, think critically about the potential pitfalls and unintended consequences.
Okay, so let's get real. What are some of those potential pitfalls we should be aware of?
Well, one of the biggest concerns is the impact on monetary policy. Central banks have to figure out how to manage CBDCs without disrupting existing financial systems or, destabilizing economies.
Yeah.
It's a delicate balancing act.
I see. Too much change too quickly could really throw things off.
Exactly. And then there's the question of financial stability. If everyone suddenly switches from traditional bank accounts to CBDCs, what happens to commercial banks? How do they adapt? These are questions we need to consider very carefully.
And what about cybersecurity? With any digital system, especially one dealing with national currencies, security is paramount. We need to make sure these systems are robust enough to withstand attacks and protect people's money.
For sure, cybersecurity is always a top concern, especially when you're dealing with something as critical as a nation's currency. And then, of course, there's that privacy issue we talked about earlier. Finding the right balance between privacy and security is crucial for building trust and ensuring, widespread adoption.
It sounds like it's not just about the technology itself. It's about understanding the broader implications for our financial systems, our economies, even our societies as a whole.
You got it. Those are all part of the equation.
Mhm.
These technologies have the potential to reshape our world in some really profound ways. And as we move forward, it's essential to have open and honest conversations about the potential benefits, the risks, the ethical considerations.
We need to approach this with a healthy dose of both excitement and caution.
Couldn't agree more. This is a journey we need to embark on together, carefully, considering all angles and ensuring that these powerful tools are used responsibly for the benefit of everyone.
It's a responsibility we all share.
Yeah.
You mentioned ethical considerations just now. I think that's a really important point to highlight.
Yeah.
As we navigate this new territory of digital currencies, we need to make sure we're doing so in a way that aligns with our values and doesn't create unintended negative consequences.
Absolutely. And one of the most profound ethical considerations we need to think about is the potential impact on privacy. We're talking about systems that could, in theory, track every single transaction we make. We need to think carefully about how to design and implement these systems in a way that protects individual privacy while also ensuring accountability and preventing, illicit activities.
A complex issue with no easy answers. And it's not just about privacy either. We need to think about things like accessibility and financial inclusion. We need to make sure these new systems don't create a digital divide where some people are left behind.
You're right. We need to make sure these systems benefit everyone, not just a select few.
It's about creating a more equitable financial system overall.
Exactly.
Well, this has been incredibly thought-provoking. We've covered a lot, but it feels like we've only just scratched the surface.
We have. And in the final part of our deep dive, we'll explore what concrete steps we can take to navigate this complex landscape and work towards a more inclusive and equitable financial future.
Welcome back to Unplugged Headlines. We've been on quite a journey exploring, those fast payment systems and central bank digital currencies, pulling out those valuable lessons from those FPS success stories, and really thinking about what a future could look like, one where these technologies kind of reshape our financial world.
It has been fascinating, hasn't it? We examine those achievements of FPS implementations like, Brazil's PIX, India's UPI, Thailand's prompt pay, and all of those, highlighting those key features that made them so successful. Stakeholder integration, robust risk management, clear regulatory frameworks, using those as kind of guiding principles for, successful CBDC rollout.
Right. And we even talked about how these systems could connect and, pave the way for this truly global financial ecosystem where those cross-border payments become, as seamless and instant as just sending a text.
Absolutely. But we also, we acknowledge the complexities and challenges, right? The impact on monetary policy, these questions around financial stability, the crucial need to address cybersecurity and privacy concerns, all of that.
Yeah, for sure. We've covered so much ground, but I think, the most important question is still out there. What are the next steps? Where do we go from here? How do we navigate this uncharted territory and shape a financial future that, truly benefits everyone?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it? And I think the answer lies in, collaboration, continuous learning, and a commitment to responsible innovation.
Collaboration. I like the sound of that. It seems like, we're going to need everyone working together to figure this whole thing out.
Absolutely. This isn't something that, any one entity can solve on its own. We need central banks, financial institutions, tech companies, policymakers, and most importantly, everyday users all working together, sharing knowledge, contributing their own unique perspectives.
It's like breaking down those silos. Fostering a truly collaborative ecosystem where we can learn from each other's experiences, both the successes and the failures, and, work together to develop best practices, standards, solutions that work for everyone.
Exactly. And along with collaboration, we need, robust research and development. We're still in the early stages of understanding the full potential and, the implications of these technologies.
Yeah, it feels like we're just scratching the surface.
Right. We need to keep experimenting, pushing the boundaries of what's possible, and investing in research, to explore different technological approaches, address those potential risks, and, develop solutions that are secure, scalable, and meet the diverse needs of users all over the world.
And let's not forget about education. As these technologies become more, common in our daily lives, it's crucial to educate the public about, how they work, the potential benefits and risks, and how to use them safely and responsibly.
Absolutely. Financial literacy is paramount in this new digital age, We need to equip people with the knowledge and skills they need to navigate this evolving landscape and make informed decisions about their finances.
It's about empowering individuals to take control of their financial well-being and, ensuring that no one is left behind as we move towards this more digital future. So we've got collaboration, research and development, and education as our guiding principles. Anything else we should keep in mind?
Yeah, perhaps the most important principle of all is to remain flexible and adaptable. The world of finance is constantly changing, and these technologies are no exception. What works today might not work tomorrow.
That's a great point. It's easy to get caught up in the excitement of new technology and, think we've got it all figured out.
Right. We need to stay humble, be open to new ideas, and embrace a mindset of continuous learning and improvement.
It's about constantly seeking ways to make these systems better, more inclusive, more resilient, and more responsive to the evolving needs of our societies.
Exactly. And that brings us back to that fundamental question you asked earlier. What does the future of money look like?
Yeah, it's a question that's been on my mind throughout, this whole conversation.
It's a question without, a definitive answer, but one that invites us to imagine a world where finance is more accessible, more efficient, and more equitable for everyone.
A world where technology empowers individuals, fosters greater financial inclusion, and helps us, create a more just and sustainable future.
That's the vision we should be striving for. And while there will undoubtedly be challenges along the way, I'm optimistic that with collaboration, innovation, and a commitment to responsible development, we can create a financial future that benefits everyone.
I share your optimism. It really does feel like we're on the cusp of a major transformation in how we think about and interact with money.
We are. It's a transformation that has the potential to touch every aspect of our lives.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive into the world of CBDCs and FPS. I've learned so much, and I hope our listeners have too. Thank you for sharing your insights and expertise.
It's been my pleasure.
And to all our listeners out there, we encourage you to keep exploring these topics, asking questions, and engaging in the conversation. The future of finance is in our hands, and together we can shape it for the better. This is Unplugged Headlines signing off.